This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth. With breaking news, researchers have just created a new strain of COVID-1984 in a laboratory that has an 80% kill rate. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that, right, guys? This is playing with fire. It could spark a lab-generated pandemic. And this is the research paper in question. And I wanted to start this off today by letting you guys know there is absolutely nothing new about this whatsoever. This has been going on for quite a long time. In fact, in case you didn't know, I wanted to show you this smallpox incident that happened back in 1971. We see here the smallpox incident. There was an outbreak of the viral disease, which recurred as a result of a field test at a Soviet biological weapons facility on an island in the Aral Sea. The incident sickened 10 people, of whom 3 of them died, and it didn't come to widespread public notice until 2002. So this smallpox incident that was created in the lab, killed 3 people, was covered up for over 30 years. And indeed, this cover-up is what led to them to be able to continue doing this stuff. In fact, I just pointed out earlier this year, there was this Wuhan lab, which published a study manipulating H7N9 virus to be more lethal. A scientific journal published by top Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers shared studies appearing to engage in gain-of-function type research, a controversial method of studying pathogens that can increase their lethality. And we also see here the infamous Wuhan lab recently assembled monkeypox strains using methods that have been flagged for creating contagious pathogens. The Wuhan Institute of Virology assembled a monkeypox virus genome, allowing the virus to be identified through PCR tests using a method that researchers flagged for potentially creating a contagious pathogen. The National Pulse can reveal, and of course, I reported on this back then. In this video here, the same Wuhan lab that carried out the controversial gain-of-function research on coronaviruses has admitted in a paper that they have also carried out similar research on the monkeypox virus in an effort to make it more lethal to human beings. So here we are again, ladies and gentlemen, as experts are now slamming this Boston lab where scientists have created a new deadly COVID strain with an 80% kill rate, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, the question is, why would they be doing all this, and why now? Well, perhaps this might give you a little bit of an insight into what we may be dealing with here in Canada. Trudeau is now threatening a return to restrictions if vaccine uptake doesn't increase. So we're going to take a look at all of this, guys, and much more in this video. But before we do, just really quickly, I wanted to tell you about subscribestar.com/pressfortruth, because in case you didn't know, guys, earlier this year I was financially attacked. I put out this piece, Dan Dicks has income wiped out as Patreon cancels the Press for Truth account. That's right, I had over 300 patrons there, and boom, in the flip of a switch, they were all canceled on me. Also, guys, you may recall it was last week I put this out. It was no mistake. PayPal was caught red-handed, leading to the stock plummeting over, $5 billion, and this led to people canceling their PayPal accounts. And as I said, that's great, but my numbers have been dropping left, right, and center because back when I was, I knew that Patreon was going to mess with me, so back then I set up a Patreon alternative right here, but this uses PayPal. And people have been sticking it to PayPal, and that's great. Stick it to them. But don't stick it to Press for Truth, because people are canceling there but not re-signing up elsewhere. And this is also why I set up Subscribestar, guys. So especially if you used to be a patron of mine, come on over to subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. And even if you haven't been, come check it out, guys. Here you can sign up for $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. Whatever's within your means is greatly appreciated. So please check out the links in the description below for all of that. All right, guys, so as I said, back earlier this year, I put out this one. Wuhan lab did gain-of-function research on the monkeypox virus, and I wanted to show you, the exchange between Senator Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci as he was confronted about this gain-of-function research And just watch how defensive he gets over Senator Rand Paul's accusations. This is quite telling.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function.
Looks like a Purell ad.
Let me finish.
Take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. You get
NIH,
one person.
Let's read from the NIH
Chair,
definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote.
Here it is.
It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's send Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2, that's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
wait
wait
a
a minute.
It did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab. And there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee
resent,
will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because if you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
no
is
one is alleging that those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
Kaboom! And this is, clearly why he was getting so defensive, is because, he's essentially busted in what's going on. And now, I mean, the fact that this type of stuff right here with this Boston lab is just making mainstream news, that they've created this in a lab, 80% kill rate. Just imagine what they're doing that they're not telling us about, right? So let's jump into this, guys. Boston University scientists were today condemned for playing with fire after it emerged that they had created a lethal new COVID strain in a laboratory. Daily Mail revealed the team had made a hybrid virus combining Omicron and the original Wuhan strain that killed 80% of mice in a study. The revelation exposes how dangerous virus manipulation research continues to go on even in the US, despite fears similar practices have started the pandemic. Professor Shimel Shapira, a leading scientist in the Israeli government, said this should be totally forbidden. It's playing with fire. Gain-of-function research, when viruses are purposefully manipulated to be more infectious or deadly, is thought to be at the center of COVID's origin. A Chinese laboratory located just miles from the first cluster of cases carried out similar research on bat coronaviruses. But the practices have been largely restricted in the U.S. since 2017. Dr. Richard E. Bright, a chemist at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, told Daily Mail, "The research is a clear example of gain-of-function research." He added, "If we're to avoid a next lab-generated pandemic, it is imperative that oversight of enhanced potential pandemic pathogen research be strengthened." And here it is. Here's the lab in Boston where they've created this monstrosity. This is the place where it all went down. And guys, I'm going to include links to all of this in the description below so you can check it out all for yourself. I don't want to read the entire article with you. I'd encourage you to go look at it for yourself. But here, for example, is a picture of one of the maps that shows the Wuhan seafood market up here in the top left, where they claim this thing originated from, and then the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is only 8 miles apart, which is obviously where, as I've said from the beginning, it's more likely that that is exactly where this thing came from. So this research is a clear example of gain-of-function research of concern and enhanced potential pandemic pathogen research. Gain-of-function research was largely restricted. Yeah, we already saw that. This article repeats itself a little bit. That's why I just wanted to kind of get to the meat and potatoes, and you can check it all out for yourself. Again, links will be located in the description below. The research involves tinkering with viruses to make them more lethal or more infectious with hopes of getting people getting ahead of a future outbreak. But ultimately, this research will provide the public benefit to leading to a better targeted therapeutic interventions. This is what they feel. But while COVID is officially believed to have been transmitted from an animal to human, likely from a bat in Wuhan wet market, some speculate otherwise. The Wuhan Institute of Virology was performing gain-of-function research on similar strains before the virus emerged in the city. And this is exactly what I was pointing out in this piece too back in May of this year, where they published this study on manipulating a virus to become more lethal. Again, no big secret that this has been going on. Some believe the pathogen being developed in the lab infected employees and it escaped into the world as a result. The Boston scientists who are performing similar research looked at different strains affecting human lungs that were grown in the lab. And again, I'll put all the links to all of this in the description below, guys. But it's it's not looking good. It's a repeat of what we've seen before, and it reminds me of this. In case you're not familiar with this whole thing, guys, do you guys know about killer bees and how that whole thing came about? Where researchers and scientists created a hybrid of bees. What they wanted to do was create some new strain of bees that would just create more honey. But what ended up turning out is that they were, really, really aggressive. They typically are much more defensive than other varieties of honeybees. They react to disturbances much faster than these other honeybees. They can chase a person for a quarter mile. They've killed over 1,000 humans already, with victims receiving 10 times more stings than normal bees. And they've also killed horses or other animals. And you know what happens when this happens, guys? The scientific community just says, oops, sorry. Sorry about that. We thought we would make bees that make more honey, but they turned out to be really aggressive. Our bad. Sorry about that. That's pretty much how it goes. And that's what can be expected from this as well, when this is eventually released, either leaked or on purpose. And again, we have to ask the question as to qui bono and why. And we got to look at this. Trudeau is now threatening a restriction if vaccine uptake doesn't increase. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Monday threatened to re-implement public health measures this winter if enough Canadians don't get their COVID-19 84 and flu vaccines. If we're able to get a high enough level of vaccination, it would reduce the danger of needing to take other health measures to make sure we're all safe and not overloading our hospitals. Guys, look at the numbers right now in Canada. 87% of the Canadian population has been vaccinated. 82% of the Canadian population have gotten at least 2 doses. How much is enough? They're already at nearly 90%. Guess what? The answer is it's never going to be enough until every single person on this planet is inoculated under this COVID-19 84 vaccination program, if you could even call it that. This is experimental mRNA technology. And now, as we've shown you time and time again, they've engaged in gain-of-function research. I've shown you how, going back as far as the early 70s, they were caught releasing this stuff on a population from a biological weapons facility, a lab, killing people, covering it up for over 30 years, and now we're starting to see this all play out again in real time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I wanted to bring this to your attention today. Please share this video. We know they kind of manipulate the algorithms to kind of make sure that this kind of an expose doesn't get seen, but with your help, we can make sure it does go out there and hopefully become just as viral as this apparent 80% kill rate strain might go as well. I want to remind you, don't forget to check me out here as well at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Again, this is a great Patreon alternative. It's a great PayPal alternative and a really solid way to support my efforts moving forward by contributing here on a monthly basis. Thank you so much to everybody who has done that. I can't do this work without you. So that's all for today, my friends. Once again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends and family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.